All right. I made it happen. Sorry, got a little bit of a late start. Supposed to start at 4, 9 after 4, 8 after 4. Sorry about that, guys. Hey, so today um, is like my third live stream here on YouTube. I do live streams all the time with my podcast, Drummers Education Connection, and I've done 3 or 4 here on YouTube. And so today, what I wanted to talk about was sound check, what sound check is for younger musicians, guys who and gals who haven't, started playing yet, haven't done a lot of sound checks, not really sure what to expect at a sound check and how to make a sound check go smooth. So that's what I want to talk about. And anybody that's watching or anybody that watches in the future after the broadcast, I would absolutely love to hear your feedback and hear what you have to say about the subject at hand. So, what is sound check? Well, sound check is just that. It is where we, when we get to the gig, get there a little bit early before the show. Let's say downbeat time for the show itself is at 7 o'clock. Sound checks usually somewhere in the afternoon around 2 or 3, right? We like to get there really early um, because we have quite a bit of gear that we carry with us. We carry our own in-ear monitor systems with us on tour and on the road, and it helps us more than I can possibly tell you. Really makes the show. Before we used it, I don't know how we got by without our own personal in-ear monitor systems and without running our own mixes. I don't know how we did it. Um, but what sound check kind of is at first when you very first get into it. You're not going to have that. You're not going to have your own in-ear system. You're going to be kind of at the mercy of the venue that you're playing at and the people that you're working with. Most venues, in all my years of doing this, most sound guys, most venues have adequate sound people and an adequate sound system. So let's talk about that for a minute. When it comes to sound check and you get into the club, you get set up, they start micing everything up, and then you start playing, right? And usually go an instrument at a time. I'll get more into that in a minute. But you're dialing in the sound system so that it sounds decent in the club or the venue that you're playing. But really, what you have to remember is that there are two sound systems that you're dealing with. I like to think about it as two PA systems that are being dialed in at sound check. There's the front of house PA system, and that's what the patrons hear and the people at the venue that you're playing at listen to and hear. And then there's the monitor system, and the monitors are the speakers that face back at the stage so that the band members that are on stage can hear what they're doing. If you're new to this, you don't really realize how quiet it is on stage, especially in my case, being a drummer. I'm all the way at the back of the stage. So if you're looking at it in a three-dimensional type of way, the drums are at the back of the stage, and then the amps for the guitars are usually, if you're using amplifiers as opposed to going direct, amplifiers in front of the drum riser, and then the PA system is in front of that by maybe 20 or 30 feet, and it's all facing that way. So if you're the drummer sitting at the back of the stage, you're not going to hear anything. Man, it's incredibly hard to hear the sound when it's all facing that way. Different amplifiers, guitar amplifiers, will have open backs, and you can hear some of the speakers, some of the sound coming off the speakers in the back. Excuse me, but not always. A lot of times the drums will drown that out. So when you're first starting out, more than likely you're going to have what's called a wedge monitor. Wedge monitors are just that. They're the speakers that sit on the stage and face back to the stage, or if you're the drummer, it sits off to your left and or your right. It can sit anywhere and faces up at you. Some drum monitors or what's called a side fill. And that's just a big stack of speakers that sit off to the side or behind you, wherever, and they fire at you so that you can hear. It can get a bit deafening. So even though you're dealing with sound check to hear yourself, I always tell people make sure you use hearing protection. Yes, you want to hear, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not going deaf. Fred Rock is watching. Fred, how are you, buddy? So yeah, so that's the thing that I like to think about is that you got the two PA systems and you're dialing it in, right? You're dialing in those two PA systems and having the monitors dialed in so that you can hear yourself and perform well for the audience. PA system, that's a whole nother sound system, and they're dealing with that out front. Now, in our case with the Sam Morrison Band, and again, this is a ways down the road, right? So if you're just starting out, chances are pretty good that you're not going to be carrying around your own in-ear monitor system, right? You're going to be carrying around a monitor system, or you're not going to be carrying around a monitor system at all. You're going to be at the mercy of the venue and the club that you're working with, or the wherever you're playing, their sound company and their sound men. One of the things that I see all the time. Good evening, Bart from Vienna. How are you? Adam, what's happening, buddy? Thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much. Um, One of the things that I see a lot, and I've been there, done that. So everything that I'm talking about, these are things that I've dealt with in my life where I learned from my mistakes, or I've watched the people around me do, and I try to learn from their mistakes. What happens a lot when you start dialing in your monitors, right, to get your sound, everybody thinks that their sound is the most important. I've got to have my sound perfect. Everybody starts yelling at the sound guy, right? Well, first of all, that is incredibly frustrating, not only for you, but it's frustrating for the sound guy. This poor guy is, trying to get everything dialed in so everybody can hear and everybody's pointing up and down and sideways and this and that trying to communicate. So what I tell everybody is slow down and just allow the sound guy to do his job. So the way we start it usually, and this is pretty much across the board, the way you run a good sound check is you start with the drums, okay? And you run through the whole drum set. Start with the kick drum, then to the snare drum. Usually the hi-hat is next, right? So in order to change, you go hi-hat, then you run through the toms, however many you have. I have two, so tom one, tom two. Some guys have a billion toms, whatever. One through the toms. I have a ride cymbal mic. I have a mic underneath my ride, so I check the ride. Then I've got my overheads, get the drum set all dialed in. Then they go to the bass, guitars, keys, saxophone in our case, vocals are last. Then we will run a song. Once they've got everybody kind of dialed and pulled up in the monitors, you'll run a song. Now, as they're going through that whole little chain of events there that I talked about, what we try to do if we're working with the sound company and let's say we find ourselves in a situation where we're not running our own sound system, what we will do is individually, if I want something in my monitors, right? And there's a guy running a desk to the side of the stage, I'll raise my hand. Okay, I got my kick drum going. I want kick drum in my monitor. And I do that with everybody. Raise my hand. And we all do that. So and there are certain instruments I don't want screaming at me through my monitor. Like I love Carl to death. He's an amazing sax player. He's a dear friend of mine, but I don't need a lot of saxophone. So I'm not going to have my hand up when he's doing a sound check. I don't want that in my monitor, right? So I'll keep my hand down. I don't want that in my monitor. Go through the whole thing. Then they'll say, okay, let's play a song. So, and the way we usually do it, we do our first song that we play for sound check is usually the third or fourth song that we play live in the set. And the reason that we do this is because it's a really open song. Everybody can take a solo. We play the song differently than we do during the show. During the show, it has one guitar solo in it. But during sound check, Sam gives everybody a solo so they can make sure that everybody can hear themselves individually. Then from there, we go on and we stop that. And then if we're working with the side guy, a monitor desk guy, they'll usually say, okay, how's that? What does everybody need? And then we go individually, each individual person. They'll usually start with Sam. He'll say, I need more of this, less of this. Each one of us will answer that question. And then we go to the second song. The second song is an acoustic guitar song and piano. Same thing. For myself, again, like I was describing the stage earlier, the acoustic guitar is going to be drowned out by everything. So I want to make sure the acoustic is up in the wedge. So I play acoustic guitar, make sure that's going. We'll do the same thing, make sure we can hear piano. And that's how we run our sound check. Now, in the past, some of the things that ends up happening when you're doing sound check and you're working with somebody at a monitor desk, that's the mixing console off to the side of the stage, like I said a minute ago, you're going to have people like, some people be over there and pointing, doing this, and the monitor guy's going, what are you trying to say? You're pointing and your hand is going all over the place, right? And again, it frustrates the monitor guy. It frustrates everybody. So don't do that. Wait till the end of a song. Wait till everything is done before you start asking for things to go up or down. One of the things too, and this is just a little tip, when you're asking, when you're trying to get something turned up in your monitor, let's say it's during sound check and you're really struggling to play the song because you can't hear something, point to whatever you need and then go up or down, right? Don't do that. That doesn't tell anybody anything. And I've seen that happen so many times, right? And this can sometimes, in our case, we've been playing together for so long that sound check is usually a snap for us. I'm going to come back to the in-ear monitor system thing in a minute. It's a snap for us because we run our own monitors. And so we don't have to deal with a lot of this a lot of the times. Now this year we did pretty long tour where we went back east. We did a bunch of shows back east. Then we had to fly home to do some shows on the West Coast. And when we did, we left all of our gear in Nashville, including our in-ear monitor system. We couldn't fly with it. So we were kind of at that time, we were at the mercy of a sound person, right? And so we had to do everything that I'm describing. Um, so, you know, one of the things that I also noticed during those times, again, we've been together for so long that nobody really gets frustrated with it anymore, right? We all kind of know what to do, and we've all been doing this for a while as a group, right? So since we're doing it for so long and as a group, we kind of instinctively know, I instinctively know, I think all of us do, when somebody's having a hard time, right? So again, we try really hard not to allow the situation to um, dictate how we play at sound check, right? If you're working with a sound person, one of the things that I really think is important, because I've seen this happen too, is where people will be frustrated. When I say people, the band members might be frustrated and they'll turn into like, they'll start getting a little bit mad. Oh, it's as good as it's going to get. Forget it. We're out of here. I'm done. I don't want to mess with it anymore. And then they go about their day, come back at showtime. Well, guess what? It's not going to get better, right? So if you're at sound check and you're having a hard time communicating with the sound guy, that's usually not the sound guy, right? So just kind of take your time to chill out, be mellow, be cool, and do your best to get it right at sound check. I've had situations where that didn't happen, and then during the show, not only is the person who didn't say that they, try to get their monitor right having a hard time, but then the sound guy is getting frustrated with the person on stage because the person on stage has given attitude to the with the sound guy. And again, that's not with my band now. That hasn't happened for years with the guys and the gals in SMB because we have it down, right? But I've been in situations where man, there's just this big ball of frustration and it never goes well. Guess what ends up happening after the show? After the show, everybody's sitting around complaining about, oh, the show went so bad. I couldn't hear a thing. Well, if you take the time at sound check, it's right there in the name, sound check, to get it right, you're not going to have those problems live, right? Once the show starts, it's all kind of push button and you're up there doing your job. Now, let's go back to what I was saying a minute ago about what we travel with our own in-ear monitor system, and it has made life so much easier. We don't deal with these problems anymore. We don't deal with having to have the frustration. Well, like I said, that those shows out here where we had our stuff on the East Coast, of course, you can have situations like that. It's not always going to be a perfect world, but I would say 9 times out of 10, right? 9 times out of 10, we don't have to deal with that. We have our in-ear monitor systems. We have a tab. I have a tablet right to the left of my drum set. I turn whatever I want up or down. But again, let's go back to what I was saying a minute ago. Every room is a little bit different, right? You're playing in a big room. Your monitors are going to sound different than they do in a small club with a low ceiling. So I really make sure that I go through and that I'm really uh, I'm making sure that my mix is right for the gig, right? I'm really making sure that my mix is right for the gig so that when I hit the stage, I don't have to sit there and not maybe point at somebody, but I have to reach over and mess with faders during the show because that can be distracting, not only for the player, but for the band around you, right? And what did Fred say? I'm still hung up on the because you're still using the bass player. The fact that you're still using the bass player. What do you mean? You're still using a bass player? Like we should have a fake in-ear bass player? We should use tracks for the bass. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that'll work. Anyway, um I think that not getting it right at sound check is so incredibly important because then once the show starts, again, even though you have the ability to reach over and turn something up or down, right, like the bass player, Fred, you're not going to be distracting to you and the people around you, right? And for instance, I'll give you a perfect example. We have the second song in the set most nights is a song called Rambler Gambler Man. And it's a real washy hi hat. I'm playing real sloppy eighth notes and I butter the bread like Ringo does. And it's real washy. Well, if I'm, if I reach over with my left hand to turn something up or down, well, one and two and three and four, I'm bringing my left hand down to the snare drum on the backbeat. So on two and four, that hi hat's not washy. And there's this little void. And you can tell the people in the band feel that, right? So again, I think once you get to a certain level, make sure that you get everything right at sound check. Another thing that I've seen at gigs where when things aren't done right at sound check, man, we were doing this gig one night in North Dakota, and this or no South Dakota, and this was nobody's fault within the band. The sound crew was okay, but man, they were having a lot of trouble on the one side of the stage with the keyboard player. Our keyboard player, we have a Hammond B3 and a Leslie cabinet that we carry around. And for younger players, if you don't know what a Hammond is, it's an old school organ, and a Leslie cabinet is a cabinet that has two speakers. One faces up, one faces down, and it fires into this spinning drum and it makes a very distinct sound. It's a very distinct sounding instrument. Miking one of those things, there's an art to it, right? And so the sound company was having a little bit of trouble with that. And man, they just couldn't get it right at sound check. And you could tell tensions were high over there, right? Well, sure enough, guess what happens? Come showtime, the guy still doesn't have it right. He still doesn't have it right. So he gets up there during the show and decides to move the microphone. Okay, so he picks up the microphone and bang, dang, blam, making all this noise. Well, if you're hearing that in your ears they're hearing it out front. The microphone's banging all over the place. So sometimes, and I think you can be cool about it. Um, if there's something happening on stage and maybe the sound company's having a hard time with it, you don't have to, be a jerk to anybody. There's no reason for that. You can, hey, let's make sure we get this right. Let's make sure that we get, let's get this thing mic'd up correct so that it works right. Again, that's what sound check is there for. Also to make sure that everything's just buttoned down, really good too. We had one night, and I'm so glad this happened at sound check. Um, our bass player, Fred, he had this, uh, he has, he used to, he doesn't carry it anymore, but he used to carry around this, it was a Anvil flight case with a big heavy amplifier in it, and it's set on top of a 410 cabinet. The way that our stage is set up, our amplifiers fire into the stage. So if my drums are facing this way, the amplifiers are firing in, right? And it's really actually very nice. Most sound guys really like it because they're not a wall of sound coming off the stage at them. So it's firing off to the side, and we don't go direct. A lot of people aren't even using amps anymore. They go direct through DIs, and then different sound like the Line 6 stuff and everything like that. That's a whole other show. But the amps fire in. So anyway, our bass player set up, and we were playing a place in Phoenix, Arizona, Wild Horse Pass Casino. It's got a big curtain that rises up, right? It's a big to-do show in the showroom. And at sound check, we're sitting there on stage, and all of a sudden, boom, this loud, what the heck was that? The curtain grabbed a hold of the back of the amplifier of Greg's amp and was lifting it off the ground while it fell after, 5 feet in the air. And oh my God, I'm it sucked that it happened, but it happened at sound check. It didn't happen during the gig when they're opening the curtain for the big, ta-da, here we are moment. It happened at sound check. So we moved the amp. Now there's my point. Make sure all that stuff's bolted, make sure all the stuff is tight, real in a good spot. Things are on the stage ready to go. Man, I play the drums. I've got a million moving parts up there. So after I get the drums all set up and secured, I go through and make sure everything's tight, make sure everything's tightened down, make sure that nothing's going to fall over. A cymbal stand's not too close to the edge of the drum riser. Most times there's a drum riser, but sometimes there's not. But if there's how close am I to the edge of the drum riser, right? All those things. Make sure that all those things are buttoned down and tight and correct. So, and I could go on for days, man. There are so many things that have happened over the 26 years of being in the band, right? That have I could tell stories for days. But I think the main thing that I've learned about doing sound check is, the sound. If you've been playing for a while, if you've been playing for more than a year doing gigs, this kind of goes without saying, but it's surprising how many people don't do this. Make sure you get it right at sound check, right? There will be times when you don't get a sound check, right? Where it's a line check and throw and go. That's a whole nother show that I'm going to do. But if you get a sound check and you get to get in there and you get to set up and you get the time to get everything right, do it, right? Don't get frustrated with the sound guy. Don't get frustrated with yourself and your own sound. Don't get frustrated with the band. Make sure things are bolted down real good and tight so nothing goes wrong during the show. Make sure that everything is ready to go. So if something goes wrong during the show, it goes wrong, right? But sound check is not the place where you want something to go wrong, right? Or sound check is the place where you want something to go wrong, not during the show, right? So make sure that it's done there. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this channel, please like and subscribe. I'm building this. I'm building up this Road Rash and Band-Aids thing. It's a playlist here on my YouTube channel. And it's content just like this. It's stuff, it's live streams like this talking about today. I was talking about sound check. It's content that I think is so relevant to the music business because I already have videos up. Here's how we play this. Here's how to play this. Did a rudimental one the other day. Um, that is going to be something that I do. But stuff like this, I think, is so relevant because there's so many people out there, so many young folks, so many. I remember when I was a kid, there were so many questions that I had before I started playing live that maybe I wish I had like a little peek behind the curtain before I started playing to maybe know something, what to expect. A big part of my business is coaching people in the music business. It's not just drum lessons, it is coaching people how to get to their first gig, to their first recording sessions. What does it mean to do a sound check? All these sorts of things. So, anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you next Friday and watch for more videos this week.